We have all assembled here to attend a lecture on Galib and human psychology, which will be delivered by Dr. Ajay R. Singh. On this occasion, I would like to quote a few lines. Umar bhar Galib wahi galti. I would now like to welcome ma'am. Welcome, Dr. Savita Malhotra. I would like to quote a few lines by Galib. उम्र भर गालिब वही गलती करता रहा, धूल चेहरे पे थी और आईना साफ करता रहा. With this, now I would like to invite our professor in charge, academics, Dr. Ashok K. Atri, to introduce the speaker.
Thank you very much. I'm once again very grateful to Department of Psychiatry for giving me this opportunity to introduce an eminent speaker. The last time it was oration or memorial lecture by Dr. P. Kulhara, my former teacher from PGI. Although I am not from psychiatry, I am from surgery, but this love they extend to me every time, and I'm grateful to the whole of the department, especially to Dr. Preeti. Department of Psychiatry, let me start from here, has been very active in organizing various activities, and in that series, this is another milestone which is there today. They keep on organizing good lectures, and this time the lecture is a bit different. I don't know, I will listen to the speaker first and then I'll give my opinion if I am able to, because as he has mentioned that Galib is a least understood poet, and definitely it is known that he is definitely least understood. So he will make us understand about Galib. I have also been given to understand that he is a trained classical singer, and again that is a great achievement for a clinician. I know quite a few clinicians, they do have interest in music and they have this passion to propagate it. So to elaborate about the achievement of Dr. Ajay R. Singh, he is a psychiatrist practicing at Mumbai. He has written extensively on the matters related to the conceptual issues in psychiatry, philosophy, bioethics, medicine, and the pharmaceutical industry. He has been president of the Bombay Psychiatry Society from year 2014 to 15. He is one of the specialty editor of Indian Journal of Psychiatry and co-chair task force for the creativity and mental illness health 2018 and 19. He has delivered good number of operations and has authored chapter in the various books. As I was mentioning, he has a passion for Indian classical music, especially mentioned here is a North Indian classical music, and he has been trained by under a guru from this, I don't know, Gharana is not mentioned, sir. We know the gurus from the Gharanas. So Chirana Gharana. So we have Patiala Gharana from there. We have good descendants of Patiala Gharana, and the most famous is Bade Ghulam Ali Khan. We know all that. So he has been trained in that. The interesting point is his interest in Galib. Galib, the present generation and majority are very young. I don't know how many of them have heard about Galib. They might have heard, but probably they might not have read him. I have also not read, because most of his this poetry is in Urdu, or rather all his poetry is in Urdu. But Mr. Jagjit Singh, who is no more, he made an attempt to bring out 2 cassettes under HMB on Galib. I don't know how many of you have listened to those ghazals. They are worth listening. But the handicap in all of us is that we are not familiar with the very hard Urdu terms. So that is the main hindrance in that. I hope today when Dr. Ajay R. Singh will speak about Galib, we'll become more knowledgeable. We'll have good insight in his poetry and also philosophy. With this, I extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Ajay R. Singh on behalf of our Director Principal, staff, students of GMCH, and I hope he will have very comfortable stay in GMCH and Chandigarh. Sir, please.
Before that, we would like to do a floral welcome.
Okay.
I would like to invite Dr. Preeti Arun to present a floral bouquet to sir. Thank you, ma'am. And now give to sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, and I will not continue till I hear a good afternoon from you. The louder one, you have your lunch, thank you. तो जरा जोर लगाएं और ये जो इंसान यहाँ खड़ा है उसका बर्थडे भी है तो उसको तो और जोर से to celebrate one's birthday with the faculty and remembering that master शायद उससे अच्छा बर्थडे क्या हो सकता है। सबसे पहले जो आपको एक काम करना है वो pronunciation of the name is extremely important. देखिए, Galib, it is not Galib, it is not Galib, it is Galib. It's a guttural sound. Ghazal, Gham, Galib. तो उर्दू है उसमें there are certain sounds which are very distinctive to the language. Haqiqat, it is not ka. Zamir, Zameen, Z. वैसे ही Ghalib, G-H. Now what is special about this person? Before I speak anything else, are they not all professionals? We are. But this man, he has got a share in which he says, Hum pesh ao, hum mashrabo, hum raz hai mera. Hum pesh, hum mashrabo, hum raz. Hum pesh ao, hum mashrabo, hum raz hai mera. Galib ko bola kyun bahut अच्छा मेरे आगे. Now what he wants to say is, hum pesh ao, from the same profession. Hum Ashraf, from the same faith. Amraz is a friend. अगर ऐसा कोई इंसान है उसके बारे में आपको क्या कहना चाहिए? अच्छा कहना चाहिए, बुरा क्यों कहते हैं? This is direct message to us professionals. We are tempted at times to speak ill of a fellow professional. That is one thing we should avoid. He's trying to say right there, Hum Pesha, Hum Mashrab, Hum Raz and Mera. Galib ko bura kyun kehte ho? Aisa ko to अच्छा ho. Now you tell me, being a professional, how many times have you said something good about a fellow professional? Where is the message of the man? Not that he knew much about medicine, but he was talking straight all the time. Whatever he said had a direct connection with human life and with human predicament. So take another example. I've come here And can we have the next slide, please? I've come here. What is the psychology of the host? I'm a guest. What is the psychology, Dr. PT? और उनको क्या लगता होगा? Why घर में हमारे खुदा की कुदरत है? ये गालिब का शेर है. Why घर में हमारे खुदा की कुदरत है? कभी हम उनको कभी अपने घर को देखते हैं. यानी what does the host do? जब गेस्ट आपके घर आता है, when there is a guest at home, खुदा की कुदरत है. It is God's grace that a guest has come. But the second line makes something very clear. कभी उनको देखते हैं. Sometimes I see the guest, but most of the times I see what is happening in my house. Is everything in order? उनको तो ये लगता रहा होगा कि आज छुट्टी का दिन है. आएंगे सारे लोग या नहीं आएंगे. कभी हम उनको कभी अपने घर को देखते हैं. All the time the host, please remember this, the host is very concerned, is the guest happy? Why घर में हमारे खुदा की कुदरत है, तो बात ठीक है. कभी हम उनको देखते हैं. I see the person's face. कभी अपने घर को देखते हैं. सारी बातें बराबर हैं. अरेंजमेंट सारा हुआ है ठीक. सारी चीजें ठीक हैं नहीं. What I'm trying to say is, as a poet, what we expect is the poet will be talking all the time about the beloved, about all the difficulties that the person has in life. It's not so. What this man was doing, and he was doing that 150 years back, he was concerned with life as life is lived. The only problem with him was that his language was very difficult. Because his language, what he wrote. So in the Diwan-e-Ghalib, does anybody know how many ghazals are there? 235. And each ghazal, it shines like a pearl. The very first ghazal, उसका सबसे पहला शेर, वो क्या है? किसी को पता है? He says, he says, नक्श फरियादी है किसकी शौक़-ए तहरीर का, कागज़ी है पैर हम हर तय करे तस्वीर का. नक्श फरियादी है किसकी शौक़-ए तहरीर का, कागज़ी है पैर हम हर तय करे तस्वीर का. काव कावे सख्त जाने हाय तन्हाई न पूछ, सब्र करना शाम का, लाना है जुए शीर का. जज्बे बेख्तियार शौक देखा चाहिए, सीनाए शमशीर से बाहर है दम शमशीर का. आग ही दामे शमीदन जिस कदर चाहे बिछाए, मुद्दा अनका है अपने आलम तकरीर का. बस के हूँ गालिब असीरी में भी आतिश ज़ेर पा, मुझे आतिश दीद है हल्का मेरी ज़ंजीर का. Now the point is this, I recited the whole ghazal. I challenge anybody to be able to come on this stage and explain to me what that ghazal is about. Very difficult to understand the man. Very difficult. Part of the problem with Galib was he made no compromises either in his life or in his writings. If it has to be difficult, it has to be difficult. If you can't understand it, I don't care. Because उनका एक दूसरा शेर है, न सताइश की तमन्ना न सिले की परवाह. He says that. न सताइश की तमन्ना न सिले की परवाह, गर नहीं है मेरे अशार में माने न सही. What that means is सताइश is praise, sila is reward. Now, सताइश की तमन्ना, I don't want any praise from anybody. I don't want any reward from anybody. If you feel that what I say has no meaning, ना सही, ना सही. And yet, please remember, how many of you have seen that serial, Mirza Galib? किसने देखा? Sorry? लॉन्ग टाइम बैक, आपने देखा मैडम? ओके, अब उस सीरियल में मैं इसलिए कर रहा हूं बात, ये सीन है, मिर्जा गालिब इज इनवाइटेड by the king, Bahadur Shah Zafar. And he was known, outside he was known that he is a great poet, he writes very well. And when he was invited, the general feeling that people had was that this time, इसको कहते हैं महफिल लूट लेना, ये तो लूट लेंगे महफिल. Everybody will be impressed by what Galib is going to say and Galib is going to recite. So therefore, in Bahadur Shah's Mehfil, there were no. Bahadur Shah Zafar himself was a good poet. Ibrahim Zauq, wo the, Imam Khan Mumin the. And Galib was invited. And when everybody else recited their poetry, ladies and gentlemen, there was a lot of wah-wah. Now, why does wah-wah take place? Because what the poet says, it appeals to the audience. Now, when the turn came of Galib, Galib said, नक्श फरियादी है किसकी शोख़े तहरीर का, कागज़ी है पैरहन हर पै करे तस्वीर का. How much wah-wah did he get? Not a single one. Not a single wah-wah. And he says, अरे कोई मिसरा तो उठाइए. Misra is the line. Uthana, misra, uthana, matlab, कोई उस line. This is how it happens in a mushaira. Is if somebody recites नक्श फरियादी है किसकी शौक़ी तहरीर का, कोई मिसरा उठाता है, वाह वाह क्या बात, नक्श फरियादी है किसकी शौक़ी तहरीर का. Then he recites the second line and everybody does a wah wah. When Galib said नक्श फरियादी है किसकी शौक़ी तहरीर का, जिसको हिंदी में कहते हैं सारी महफिल को सांप सूंघ गया. क्यों? क्योंकि उनके समझ में नहीं आएगा. तो then he's stunned. He does not know what's to be done. So what he says, तो मिसरा तो उठाइए. तो उनके पास जो एक इंसान बैठा था वो कहता है, भाई आपका जो मिसरा है बहुत भारी है, किसी कुली को बुला लीजिए, हमसे नहीं उठता. The sarcasm. आपका मिसरा इतना भारी है, हम नहीं उठा सकते, कुली को बुलाइए, कुली उठाए. That means what you are speaking is absolute rubbish. I cannot understand. That means it is not worth understanding. So remember this thing in life. Just because you cannot understand something, does it mean it's not worth understanding? It's not so. If I have not understood something, I will make every attempt to be able to understand it. I will not reject it just like that. Not only that, amongst the traditional commentators, one of the very important commentators, he says, नक्श फरियादी किसकी शौक़ी तहरीर का, कागज़ी है पैरहन हर पै करे तस्वीर का. It is a meaningless शेर. इसका कोई मतलब नहीं. आपको कोई बात समझ में नहीं आती है तो आप उसको मीनिंगलेस कर देंगे. Is it fair? Now when you understand this share, you will realize what it means. नक्श फरियादी है किसकी शोख़ी तहरीर का, कागज़ी है पैरहन हर पै करे तस्वीर का. What he is trying to say is नक्श, emulation, नक्शा, map. फरियादी है, फरियाद कर रहा है किसकी शोख़ी तहरीर का. शोखी मस्ती, शोखी mischief, शोखी तहरीर writing, mirthful writing, something written in fun. You are a naksh and you are faryad kar rahe ho, petitioning to whom? To which? Shokhiye tahreer. Shokhiye tahreer, mischievous writing. Now if you don't understand this imagery, you are lost. Which is the Shokhiye tahreer he is talking of? He is talking of this world. That means he's talking of God. God in his mirth made this world. We have this concept in Advaita of Maya, correct? And when in the concept of Maya, the thought that is put forward is, then why did he create this world? Oh, Bhagwan ko Leela karne ka man ho gaya. That concept of Leela, fun. God wanted to have fun, therefore he created this world. That is the Advaitin concept. And this man, he is echoing a similar thought. Now you understand it now. नक्श फरियादी है किसके, ये जो दुनिया बनी है ये शोखिया तहरीर है. In fun, God wanted to have fun, and therefore he created this world. And you have become a naksh. फरियाद कर रहा किसको? उस God को. What he's trying to say is not criticizing God. What he's trying to say is, what is it that you are doing with your life? You are pleading before somebody. You are pleading to a certain entity to improve your life. It is useless. Because to anybody whom you plead, that person is not in the condition to be able to help you. Who has to help you? Your own self. नक्श फरियादी है किसकी शोखियत है, किसकी शोखियत तहरीर की तरफ तू नक्श बना है, फरियाद कर रहा है, मत कर. फिर नेक्स्ट लाइन ही सेज, कागजी है पैर हम हर तय करे तस्वीर का. कागजी कागज का, पैर हम कपड़ा, जैसे मैंने सूट पहना है. कागजी है पैरन हर तय करे तस्वीर का, जो कपड़ा है वो कागजी है. Again, such a difficult imagery, you find it very difficult to understand, but once it is explained, you will realize, oh yes, that is the point. कागजी है पैरन, everybody तय करे तस्वीर, उस तस्वीर की तय कर. The image of that picture, every image of that picture is wearing clothes made of paper. Now, what is the idea of this clothes made of paper? If you understand the story behind it, then we will know what it means. In Persia, there was a system. Anybody who had any complaint of any type, any grievance, that person used to wear clothes made of paper. So, if you are wearing paper clothes, and if you are moving about, everybody knows this person has a grievance. And therefore, that person would be taken to the king, and the king would listen to that grievance and sort it out. What a wonderful way in which a person can express that which is disturbing him or her, and for the king to resolve that problem. Now think about this way. You have a grievance, you wear a dress of paper, you are told, taken by the soldiers, etc., to the king, and then you go in front of the king, and when you go in front of the king, you want to appeal to the king, and what do you find? The king himself is wearing clothes made of paper. You understand the point? That means, to whomsoever you are appealing, that person also is wearing paper clothes. He is appealing to somebody else. So, in other words, don't appeal to God, don't appeal to God-men, don't appeal to others thinking that they are going to sort your problems. Whom do you appeal to? To your own self. There is a God within you. There is a giant within you. You have to awaken that giant. No God, no God-men, no mullah, no pandit, no Maulvi, no nothing. Who can solve your problems? Only you can solve your problems. Now see the concept that this man was trying to give, ladies and gentlemen. The whole problem was नक्श फरियादी किसकी शौक के तहरीर का कागजी है पैरन हर तय करे तस्वीर का. The language and the imagery was so difficult. People didn't understand what he was trying to say. Just because they didn't understand, there was this man who had the audacity to say, भाई आपका जो मिसरा है बहुत भारी, हमसे नहीं होता, किसी कुली को बुला लीजिए. एक कुली को बुलाने की बात है. Now when you understand, you find that this man is not speaking against God, he is not speaking against God-men, but he is speaking directly to the human potential that is there in each and every person. It is so important for us in the field of mental health, isn't it? When we think of positive mental health, what is the potential? What is the self-actualization that we need to do? That's the appeal that we have to give. When we move from disease to well-being, which is the WHO definition, what are we trying to do? Self-actualization, the human potential that is there in the person. This man at that particular time was talking this. Therefore, Galib remains relevant even today. When I said, what does it talk about fellow professionals? What does it talk about the host? What does it talk about the potential that is within you? As mental health specialists, is it not our concern, therefore, to understand what this man was trying to say? Therefore, those aspects of human psychology that this man touched on, they become extremely important and relevant for us to know. Can I have the next slide, please? It can come. No, please go ahead. Go ahead. Just go ahead. Next slide. Next. 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 Next, please. This is what we did already. Next. Now look at this one. उनके देखे से जो आ जाती है मुझ पर रौनक, वो समझते हैं बीमार का हाल अच्छा है. उनके देखे से जो आ जाती है मुझ पर रौनक, वो समझते हैं बीमार का हाल अच्छा है.
Everybody will take it.
We are doctors. When we go to see the patient in the ward, the patient will say cheerful good morning. Good morning, doctor. He or she is not really very well. Yet the person makes a cheerful attempt to greet you. उनके देखे से, when the person sees the doctor, the person greets the doctor in a cheerful way. वो समझते हैं बीमार का हाल अच्छा है. As a doctor, please don't fall into the illusion that the patient is well. Patients many times wear that mask. They want to greet the doctor. They want to make an impression over the doctor. That let the doctor feel nice that he has come. And I'm expressing that. We, especially as psychiatrists, we should learn to look through the mask and find out, yes, if the patient has wished us well, we wish the patient, but then immediately do not come to the conclusion that the patient is well just because the patient appears cheerful. No. Beyond that cheer, which is the mask, what is happening in the patient's life? When we move to that history, when we find it. It's number of times patients wear that mask, want to feel and make us happy. That's the way they express that cheer by a cheerful good morning or good afternoon, whatever. As good doctors, we must look beyond that and find out what is happening with the patient. Therefore, उनके देखे से, उनके मतलब डॉक्टर समझिए, उनके देखे से जो आ जाती है मुझ पर रौनक, हमारे मुंह पर रौनक वो क्या समझते हैं
थोड़ा
कि बीमार का हाल अच्छा है।
ये वाली लाइट्स है क्या?
बीमार का हाल सच में अच्छा नहीं है। बीमार जो है
आज रात को
एक
ये मैं
मास्क
लगा के
पहन के,
देख लेती
मुखौटा पहन के है। उसके पीछे जो इंसान है
फुल लाइट्स
उसको समझना आपके लिए जरूरी है। अब देखिए देखिए उनका जो शेर ये है, इट इज सो एप्लीकेबल टू द लाइव्स ऑफ डॉक्टर्स एंड पेशेंट्स। नेक्स्ट वन प्लीज, आप जरा आ जाएं। So what did we handle?
किया वो चेंजिंग
How do we look at fellow professionals? How do we look at the concept of God and God men? How do we look at the concept of a host? And what happens between a doctor and a patient? Let's say something else.
How is coming the Japanese?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright.
I was there yesterday. It's really difficult. I was
You know,
there
this
till 4
is
a.m.
on the kiss and flirting.
Brain could not head, so I was just made some
You
fabrication.
flirted or not sometime? अरे कोई तो हाँ बोलो, क्या किसी ने फ्लर्टिंग नहीं किया? क्या यहाँ कहा तो आपको यहाँ कोई पेशी होगी, ऐसा नहीं है। हाँ, फ्लर्टिंग तो किया जाता है, उसमें क्या है? Now therefore,
So that it can't damage it.
the शेर is ऊंचाई नाशगुफ्ता को दूर से मत दिखा के यूं
Actually, what I wanted
दूसरे
to
को
plan,
पूछता हूँ
which are like this thing,
मुझे पता
which are used for Revamp,
Yes, ma'am. So I
not
was
air conditioning. Fan.
again the problem with the
They were
language.
Chinese and
ऊंचाई
they were white
नाशगुफ्ता
and
को दूर से मत दिखा के यूं ऊंचाई नाशगुफ्ता is a bud which is not blossom. Now people who are in love, see the psychology of people who are in love, that is what is being expressed here. Here is Galib Saab sitting here and his lady love probably is somewhere else. I feel like so what Galib Saab is doing is he is making the expression of a kiss. Bosa is a kiss. Now see this, what is happening. He makes the expression of a kiss. His lady love is a little far away. She is feeling shy. So what does she do? She does not respond with that kiss. She shows a bud. Now if you see a bud, not a flower, if you see a bud, it looks like the expression of a kiss. And if you see a bud, so now Galib Saab is telling her, don't show me that bud from far, that you are trying to show this expression of your face. मैं भी राजी हूँ, इसे बोसे को पूछता हूँ मैं. I am asking for a kiss. मुझे बता के यूं. The way I am showing the expression of a kiss, you make the same impression you showed to me. Why? If you are in love, now see the psychology of love that comes here. If you are in love, why are you afraid? Why are you coy about it? You're coy. But why should you be hiding it? Why this indirect expression? Why not a direct expression? This is the eternal problem, isn't it? Between males and females. Males want greater amount of expression of love, and the female is all the time coy about things. Now, this is what is happening in this share. Once you understand the meaning, you realize this is what he's trying to say. ऊंचाई नाशुगुफ्ता को दूर से मत दिखा के यूं, किस तरह से मत दिखा, उसे को पूछता हूँ. मुझे बता के यूं. You show it the way I am showing it. So, in other words, in love, coyness is fine, but along with that, there has to be expression as well. And in love, that expression, if it is there, the love tends to increase. The ardor becomes more intense. Next, please. having fun. And here, Galib Sahib is making fun of the preacher. Why the preacher? Because the preacher is all the time telling, you do this and you don't do that. You do this, you don't do that, isn't it? So to that there is a share. He says, "Kahan main khane ka darwaza Galib aur kahan wise? Par itna jante hain, kal ho jata tha ki hum nikle." Kahan main khane ka darwaza? Main khana is the liquor den. Here, the liquor den is here. And the wise, please note this word wise in Persian. It is the same word wise in English. Kahan main khane ka darwaza yahan hai. And or kahan wise? Wise is many, many miles away because he's all the time saying, please don't drink, please don't take alcohol. But इतना जानते हैं, कल वो जाता था कि हम निकले. मतलब जिस चीज को ये वाइज बोलता था कि उसको नहीं करना चाहिए, हम जहां से निकले वो शराब खाने से, हम तो शराब पीते हैं भाई, हम तो मानते हैं उसको, वहां से निकल के वही जा रहा था वो. समझ में आई बात? यानी all the Puritans and all the preachers, whatever they are preaching, actually they do the exact opposite of what they are preaching. Exposing the hypocrisy of the Puritans. कहाँ मैं खाने का दरवाजा गालिब और कहाँ वाइस, पर इतना जानते हैं कल हो जाता था. In making fun of the preacher, ladies and gentlemen, what he was trying to do is not make fun of the preacher, but he was trying to expose the hypocrisy of all people who express something but do the exact opposite. And you will find that happening all through. You find that happening all through in life. Huge sermons people give, but if you find, look into their lives, you find they do the exact opposite of what they are preaching as sermons. So this is the point that was being made by him. Next, please. But making fun of the preacher is not enough. The most important thing in life is what? Can you make fun of your own self? How many people can make fun of themselves? Can you laugh at yourself? This is an extraordinary ability only few people have. So what he's saying, see here, हुआ है शह का मुसाहिब फिरे है इतराता. हुआ है शह का मुसाहिब फिरे है इतराता, वगरना शहर में गालिब की आबरू क्या है? हुआ है शह का मुसाहिब में शहर बादशाह, उसका मुसाहिब इस बादशाह उनके ऊपर मेहरबान है, इसलिए वो इतरा रहा है. आप देखते हैं, if there is a leader, you have seen a leader, along with the leader there are a number of others. They are the sycophants, जिनको हिंदी में चमचे कहते हैं. The leader जो है वो कम इतराता है, जो चमचे रहते हैं वो ज्यादा इतराते हैं. ये पॉलिटिक्स में तो आपने देखा ही होगा. The main person, he is very sober and he is humble. But if you see the people who are along with him, they are strutting about like proud peacocks. He is talking of himself. हुआ है शह का मुसाहिब फिरे है इतराता, वगरना शहर में गालिब के आबरू क्या है? Who cares? Who cares about Galib? Just because the king is benevolent, मेहरबान है उसके ऊपर, इसलिए गालिब अपने इतरा रहा है, वरना शहर में गालिब की आबरू क्या है? Now when he is making fun of himself, ladies and gentlemen, please note, in making fun of himself, he is expressing exactly what people do even today. And you find that, don't you? So there is a leader who is in power, people around him strut about. That person's power is gone, other people start strutting about. नए लोग आते हैं, वो लोग वही करते हैं, वही करते हैं। आज तो पार्टी इन पावर है, उससे देखिए आसपास के जो मेन लीडर को इतना नहीं करता, बाकी सारे लोग, और उसका पावर जब चला गया तो दूसरे आते हैं और वही काम करते हैं लोग। He is describing that aspect of human behavior. वह शहर का मुसाहिब फिर ही तरह था, वगरना शहर में गालिब की आबरू क्या है, कुछ नहीं है। इसीलिए people want power, and not only they want power, people around the person who has power, those people want to remain with the person in power, and because of that they do all the hypocrisy and the jihuzuri and the chamchagiri हम लोग कहते हैं, वो सारी चीजें हम लोग करते हैं। See the understanding of human psychology. One share is expressing so much understanding of what takes place, the dynamics of human behavior that we see day in and day out. This man is describing things of that type, and therefore it becomes important for us to understand as people in the field of mental health. Next, please. The simple is not easy, or is it? Example, आज का ही देख लीजिए। मैडम ने फंक्शन ऑर्गेनाइज किया। Suddenly at 6 o'clock in the evening, was declared a holiday. She must be having great difficulty of कैसे manage किया जाए. So he says, बस के दुश्वार है हर काम का आसान होना. It's just that कोई भी काम है आसान क्यों नहीं होता? तो इन्होंने सारा प्लान किया, डॉक्टर साहब भी बंबई से आ रहे हैं, वो आ गए, पहुंच गए, यहाँ हॉलीडे क्लियर हो गए। अरे काम है, वो आसान क्यों नहीं हो सकता? Why can things not happen the way we plan it? बस के दुश्वार है, it is difficult, हर काम का आसान होना। अब उसका एग्जाम्पल, the example that he gives is, आदमी को भी मुयस्सर नहीं इंसान होना। आदमी है, सबसे आसान काम एक आदमी के लिए क्या होना चाहिए? वो इंसान है ना, तो उसने इंसान की तरह बिहेवियर करना चाहिए नहीं? Why does the person, the human being, the simplest thing that a person can do is a human being should be human, but that's the most difficult thing for a human being to do. You just see, except for being human, everything else the human being does. He is the worst animal that you can see on this planet. बस तो he is telling, बस हर एक काम आसान क्यों नहीं होता? जो इंसान है, वो आदमी है, वो इंसानियत क्यों नहीं करता? Why is he hurting the other? You can see that happening all the time. Man hurting the other, countries grabbing other countries, civilizations impinging their force on other civilizations, cultures being annihilated. What is this happening? आदमी को भी मुयस्सर नहीं इंसान होना. He says it is not possible for a human being. The easiest thing that should be possible is to be human, and yet he does not do it. Look within yourself. Look at people around you. You will not find that happening. It is so easy actually to be able to do the right things, and yet that is the exact thing that we don't do. What we mean by right is behavior, the correct behavior towards others. See the subtlety of human psychology that this man is describing in this share. Next, please. The simple is not easy. Or is it? Is it not easy? It is actually easy. But you don't want to do the simple things in life. The problem comes there. Next, please. This is a fundamental problem that Galib talks about numerous times. And as you will look into it, you will find it is fundamentally, absolutely correct. He says, "Qaid-e hayat band gham asl mein dono ek hain." Qaid-e hayat band gham asl mein dono ek hain. मौत से पहले आदमी गम से निजात पाए क्यों? कैद हयात, कैद जेल, हयात लाइफ एग्जिस्टेंस, कैद हयात और बंद गम, बंद इज द प्रिजन ऑफ सॉरो। असल में दोनों एक हैं। The point that he is trying to make is a very fundamental point, ladies and gentlemen. The point is this: the very fact that you are in this world, you have sorrow. Sorrow is integral to existence. Pain is integral to living. Happiness is a fleeting gesture. Sorrow goes along with you all through life. कितना भी आप मुखौटा पहन ले खुशी का, उसके पीछे का जो गम है, हर एक इंसान आप अपनी लाइफ में देखिए. This is the fundamental point that he was trying to make, put across. And everybody is carrying a huge baggage of sorrow, pain, suffering, frustration, resentment, anger, and he is not ready to get out of it. He does not have that ability to get out of it. So what he is trying to say is, the very fact that you are living, ladies and gentlemen, you have sorrow. असल में दोनों एक हैं, साथ साथ चलते हैं. मौत से पहले आदमी गम से निजात पाए क्यों? मौत से पहले निजात नहीं है. There is no way you can escape from sorrow. You look at the concept that Sarvam Dukkham that Gautam Buddha has given. Sorrow, pain, it is integral to life. However much you may want to avoid it, it is there with you all the time. Now, the difficulty with Galib was the language. Once you understand the language, you understand the meaning and the fundamental truths of the psyche and the individual's existence that Galib was trying to express. Next, please. Next. Humoring the heart with the illusion of heaven. He says, हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत, लेकिन दिल के खुश रखने को गालिब ये ख्याल अच्छा है. I know the reality of this heaven. I know it. ये सिर्फ दिल को खुश रखने की बात है. The point that he is making is, there is no heaven, there is no hell. Whatever heaven and hell is there, it is in this world. And not only it is in this world, it is in our lives. We can make our lives into a heaven, or we can convert it into a hell. हमको मालूम है, जन्नत की हकीकत हम जानते हैं. ये क्या है? दिल को खुश रखने के लिए गालिब अच्छा ख्याल है. It is just a thought. There is no reality. Now see what the man is trying to say for us in the field of mental health. And if we talk in terms of positive mental health, what is he trying to say? Forget a heaven and a hell. You can make your life into either a heaven or a hell. And around you are people who are busy making your life either into heaven or into hell. हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत, लेकिन ये सिर्फ दिल को खुश रखने की बात है, बाकी इसका कोई मतलब नहीं है. He is throwing a direct challenge, ladies and gentlemen, to all those people who try to make something out of your life, which they cannot do. But more importantly, he is throwing a challenge to you, what you can do with your life. Get rid of all these illusions of heaven, hell, afterlife, etc. Make this life of yours something worth living. Make this life into a heaven. हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत, लेकिन दिल के खुश रखने की बात है. सिर्फ ये दिल को खुश रखना इस तरह से हम न करें, तब सचमुच अपने दिल को हम खुश कर सकते हैं. ये सिर्फ ख्याल है, ख्याल को छोड़ दीजिए go away from appearance and come to reality. This is the point that Shair was trying to make. Next, please. सब कहाँ कुछ लालाओ गुल में नुमाया हो, सब कहाँ कुछ लालाओ गुल में नुमाया हो गई. सब कुछ, everything does not get exhibited. लालाओ गुल, red flowers, tulips. इससे सब कहाँ कुछ लालाओ गुल में सब कुछ नुमाया नहीं होता. नुमाया means exhibited. Now see the imagery. He's passing through a field and he sees those red flowers. And they look so beautiful. They make the whole appearance look so good. Now he's trying to say everything that you see, everything is not getting exhibited. He is not interested in what is exhibited. He is interested in what is below the exhibition. खाक में क्या सूरतें होंगी जो पिन्हा हो गई, दब गई. What you see around is just a fraction of what actually is below. The effort that goes into, for example, now this presentation, हम देखेंगे कि डॉक्टर साहब क्या बात करते हैं, वो ठीक है. उसके पीछे का जो एफर्ट है वो कैसे होता है देखना, उसको देखना जरूरी है. We see somebody who becomes a big star, नुमाया हो जाता है, लेकिन उसके पीछे की जो मेहनत है, शिद्दत है, वो किसने देखा? हमने एक ताजमहल देख लिया, कहा वाह ताज, क्या बात. उसके पीछे की जो मेहनत है, कितने लोगों ने मेहनत की, वो सारा दब गया. तो इसका इंटरप्रिटेशन और एक तरीके से भी होता है कि whatever you see, the beauty that you see, below that beauty, there are a number of other beautiful things which you are not able to understand. In other words, he is telling you not to go only by appearances. Look into the reality of everything. खाक में क्या सूरतें होंगी जो पिन्हा तब गई, उनकी तरफ आपका ध्यान जाना जरूरी है. And then when you do that, you will understand. You will not go by appearances, ladies and gentlemen. You will never go by appearances. You will try to look into the reality that is within. And once you understand that reality that is which is within, you will understand the true nature of things. The outward appearance will never impress you. The true ability and the reality within is the only thing that will impress you. सब कहाँ कुछ लालाओ गुल में, सब कुछ लालाओ गुल में नुमाया नहीं होता. सूरतें जो अंदर होती हैं, conditions, human appearances, जो पिन्हा हो गई, who will take care of that? It is necessary, if you want to really understand human nature, not to go by appearances, but to go by the inner reality of things. And that is what we do, isn't it? When we do psychotherapy, what do? We do not go by outer appearances. We look into what is happening in the inner individual, what is happening in the psyche. सब कुछ नुमाया नहीं होता. जब हम वो देखते हैं तब हमें पता चलता है क्या सूरतें वहां क्या हो रही हैं. The whole life and the whole expression of Freud was what? When he's talking about the unconscious, he's talking about the rest of it. What was he trying to tell? That which is deep within. And psychotherapy in whatever form, the greatest form that it may take, ultimately is trying to say the same thing. Everything that is shown on the outer face is not it. Look into what is happening within, then you will understand what is the reality. Next, please. I will discuss two more and then we'll take questions. This one is very important for us from the mental health point of view. He says, मौत का एक दिन मुय्यन है. मौत का एक दिन मुय्यन है. मुय्यन means decided. नींद क्यों रात भर नहीं आती? Anybody would like to hazard, what he's trying to mean by this shade. We have a number of mental health specialists here. He says, how is death and sleep connected? Maut ka ek din muayyan hai. It is decided. I will explain what it means. I will not interpret it. I will only explain so that if anybody wants to hazard a guess, and you should, okay, on the platform from which I speak, you are allowed to make mistakes, because if you don't make mistakes, you will never come up in life. It is very simple. If you keep on having your inhibitions and मुझे नहीं आता ये सब सोचते रहेंगे तो आप कभी आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते. मौत का एक दिन मुय्यन है, नींद क्यों रात भर नहीं आती? What is the connection between death and sleep? Anybody would like to hazard a guess? Anybody? Yeah. Madam, please. Exactly. देखिए, exactly. Now you give her a big hand. देखिए, ये नहीं ऐसा इतने polite applause मत कीजिए. बहुत अच्छी बात कर रहे हैं. Sleepless nights are exactly like dying every night. Our patients who have insomnia, see, one of the major problems they have, which others cannot realize, is they cannot sleep in the night. They cannot sleep. They request, they are all the time pleading, मुझे नींद कोई दे दे, because मैं हर रात मरता हूँ. Now he is talking of a thing like that. मौत का एक दिन तो निश्चित है. हर रोज मैं क्यों मरता हूँ? हर रोज मुझे नींद नहीं आती. नींद क्यों रात भर नहीं आती? You just look at what our patients who come to us, the first thing that they come to us and says, बाकी ठीक है डॉक्टर साहब नींद नहीं आती, उसके लिए मुझे कुछ कीजिए. They can tolerate everything else, but not being able to sleep in the night is the most distressing thing that our patients experience. This is what this man is talking of, ladies and gentlemen. मौत का एक दिन मुअय्यन है, नींद क्यों रात भर नहीं आती? See the grasp over the human predicament that this poet has. We tend to, think of poetry just as a lover and a beloved and all the description of beauty, etc. But poetry is much more than that. And when we think of a poet like Galib, we are not just thinking only in terms of beauty, but we are thinking of human existence and the predicament of human behavior and human existence. This is what this man was exemplifying all through the writings that he did. The only problem was his language was very difficult. And since his language was difficult, people did not understand what he was trying to say. Now, when you understand and you look at some of these shares, you will find, oh my God, that man at that particular time expressed thoughts like this. Fellow professionals, we keep on criticizing. Where is this man telling us, the practical things that this man talked of. मौत का एक दिन मुअय्यन है, नींद क्यों रात भर नहीं आती? Why do I not sleep? Because if I were just to get that sleep, and you will find our patients, when they come for treatment, when you write your medication, the first thing that happens to them is they get a good night's sleep. Their appetite starts improving. The rest of the things happen later. That is a great relief for them. When they get that feeling, from there, the whole recovery and the healing starts. Next, please. And I will come to the last one now. And then, of course, we can have question and answers. No, I will go to the last one. Okay, isko rehne dijiye. The last one that I'm going to discuss today is the concept of God. Now, we remember we talked of Naksh Faryadi, Kiski Shofi, Tehreek Ka, Kagazi hai, Pair, Har Pair Kare Tasveer Ka. There you can have the feeling that Galib is giving a left-handed compliment to God, isn't it? शोखिया तेरे अपनी मस्ती में उसने दुनिया बना दी और भूल गया इस दुनिया को. And he is giving a left-hand compliment to God, and he is also probably giving a left-hand compliment, maybe no compliment to God, man, etc. But that should not get you into the feeling that Galib was a non-believer, because one of his shares, and it is not just that, it is again the same feeling that is expressed in Naqsh Faryadi expresses here. He says, न था कुछ तो खुदा था, कुछ न होता तो खुदा होता. न था कुछ तो खुदा था, कुछ न होता तो खुदा होता. डुबोया मुझको होने में, न होता मैं तो क्या होता. He says, when there was nothing, there was God. When there will be nothing, there will be God. If anybody has read the Nasadiya Sukta in the Rigveda, it expresses similar thoughts. When there was nothing, there was God. When there will be nothing, there will be God. We will all be perished, we will all go. God has got that extreme ability. He is infinite. He cannot perish. डुबोया मुझको होने में. Now, हमको क्या डुबोता है? What is it that drowns us? This existence of ours drowns us. The very fact that we exist, we have to make a lot of adjustments with our morals, with our ethics, with our integrity. डुबोया मुझको होने में, न होता मैं तो क्या होता. Now this मैं that is talking of, ladies and gentlemen, you can interpret मैं नहीं होता तो क्या होता, कुछ नहीं होता. He is not saying that. This मैं is your ego. डुबोया मुझको होने में, all the things that I have to do in this world purely because I want to exist. Why is that being done? Because I have a massive ego. This head is inflated. न होता मैं तो क्या होता. अगर ये मैं नहीं होता, this massive ego, if it were not to be there, तो क्या होता? तो मैं खुद खुदा होता. डुबोया मुझको होने में. This existence makes me do everything that is wrong. And if I were to realize that I have got a huge, massive ego, it needs to be punctured. न होता मैं तो क्या होता. I would be like God. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have read the stories of my experiments with truth of Mahatma Gandhi, he says in this, on the second last page, my whole struggle, he says, is to reduce myself to zero. ये जो मैं है ना, this ego is your greatest enemy. This is the point that this man was trying to make. It's not just God. It's not just the infinity of God. If you can puncture this ego, you can be infinite as well. See the amount of optimism that this man had in the human potential. Again, making the same point as he made in Naqsh Faryadi. Don't appeal to God. Don't appeal to God, man. Appeal to your own self. And in appealing to yourself, if you can puncture this ego of yours, you can be God. You can be God. So see the vast expanse of the poetry that this man presented to the world. The whole problem was his language was difficult. His imagery was very complex. But once you can look into what is that imagery, you find kya baat hai. क्या बात. So it is justified. There are only two poets in the whole of Urdu. There is who are considered to be the greatest. One is Mirza Galib, the other is Mir Taqi Mir. And these two cannot be put at the third level. Some people believe Mirza Galib is the best. Some others believe Mir Taqi Mir is the best. Those who believe Mir Taqi Mir is the best accept that Mirza Galib is second. He cannot be third. Those who believe like me that Mirza Galib was the best, and you've seen the examples, even they would say Mir Taqi Mir is second. He cannot be third. And even Galib accepted Mir Taqi Mir. He says to himself, he says, Rekhte ke tum ustad nahi ho Galib. Kya baat, kya baat. Rekhta is Urdu. He says, तुम्हें अब खुद को कहते हैं गालिब साहब. रेखते के तुम उस्ताद ने अपने को इतना बड़ा मत समझो कि तुम बहुत बड़े उस्ताद हो. कहते हैं अगले जमाने में कोई मीर भी था. If they say that much before you came, अगले जमाने में, earlier, there was a poet called Mir Taqi Mir. आपके जैसा ही बड़ा उस्ताद था. The point is this, that do not, again, puncturing his own ego. रेखते के तुम ही बड़े उस्ताद नहीं हो गालिब, अपने आप से कहते हो, तुमसे पहले एक मीर तकी मीर हो चुका है. Point that is being made is, when Galib is accepting the greatness of Mir Taqi Mir, he is not putting down his own greatness. This is a mistake geniuses can make. Galib was very well aware that he was a genius, but like two geniuses, he accepted another genius as well. This is very important in life. You cannot just allow yourself to have an inflated ego. You must accept that before you and along with you, there are so many others who are equally great, if not more great. See the lessons of life that this man presents in his poetry, the whole imagery, the whole description of the human predicament, the whole, all aspects of life. Therefore, I end saying, कोई मुद्दत के गालिब मर गया पर याद आता है. He says that about himself. कोई मुद्दत के गालिब मर गया पर याद आता है. क्या याद आता है? वो हर एक बात पे कहना कि ये होता तो क्या होता. हाँ, नहीं तालियां उनके बोलने पे आनी चाहिए. कोई मुद्दत के गालिब मर गया तो याद आता है. अब आप देखेंगे तो आपको याद है वो हर एक बात पे क्या होता तो क्या होता. He was not just a poet who was describing the sorrows of a person in love. No, he was dealing all the time with the human predicament and the psyche of the individual and all the problems that we in our day-to-day life face even today. इसलिए कहते हैं अपने बारे में वो हर बात पे कहना कि ये होता तो क्या होता, ये होता तो क्या होता, ये होता तो क्या होता. So therefore, we must remember that great shair. I'm extremely delighted that on this birthday I could meet all of you and remember that great shair, and in his memory, therefore, we had this lovely afternoon together. I suggest that all of you give a big hand to that great shair, please. और भी दुनिया में सितंबर बहुत अच्छे हैं, और भी दुनिया में सितंबर बहुत अच्छे. कहते हैं कि गालिब का है अंदाज बयां और अंदाज बयां और अंदाज बयां. Thank you, ladies. Thanks a lot. Oh, yes, one more second. Do we have time for one or two questions, or do we have or we don't? Sorry? Who is it? You have questions with you? All right, okay. Oh, that's not a question. Huh? That's a wish. Please thank. He is a great friend, Dr. Srinivas Murthy. I think he is online. He is from Bangalore.
No questions.
No, whatever it may be there, you write it out. Maybe it's okay. Are there any questions from the audience? Please feel free to ask questions. Is there something that you would like to ask? And of course, those things. Yeah, yes, please ask. And feel free, huh? Feel free, yes. So, Mike, let it be a question, okay, so that I can answer it quickly.
So,
yeah.
There was a fixation that Galib had with death.
Yes.
So there's a lot of verses in which he describes about his death. Then he describes how he will be in his grave and nobody will be around. So does that reveal anything about the psyche around that time? And would you have anything to say about that?
Excellent question. He has asked an excellent question. A continuous preoccupation with death is something that was there with Galib all through life. There is a reason for it. He had seen a number of deaths, his children dying prematurely, very early in life, the person whom he loved, his nephew, dying. These deaths left a permanent scar on his psyche. However, at the same time, please note, if he is writing about death, does not mean all the time that he is dreading death. No. He is expressing thoughts about death. But along with the expression of the thoughts of death, he is a great optimist, ladies and gentlemen. That aspect we could not handle here. He is a great optimist. So that optimism led him through all these tragedies of life. रंज से होकर हुआ इंसान तो मिट जाता है रंज, मुश्किलें इतनी पड़ी मुझ पे कि आसा हो गई. इतनी मुश्किलें मुझ पे पड़ी that it has become a cakewalk for me. These deaths that he experienced, all these tragedies in his life that he experienced, that did not make him go down. On the contrary, it made him resilient and resurrect himself. मुश्किलें पड़ी इतनी मुझ पे कि आसा हो गई. It has become a cakewalk for me now. See the resilience of the man. In positive psychiatry, we are talking of resilience, but resilience was being shown at that time. However, the reality of his life was that he experienced a lot of deaths. And he was also concerned about his own death. That comes in a number of his shapes. It's a very good point he's brought about.
So there's another question from
yes.
Dr. Swapnil.
Yes.
Galib Saab, thoughts on betrayal love.
Sorry, thoughts on?
Betrayal love.
Betrayal. So a lot of Galib's poetry deals with unrequited love. Unrequited love means love which is not responded to. You note this point. Sorrow. Happiness is transient. Sorrow is something that remains with you for a long time. When there is betrayal, it gives rise to sorrow. And that sorrow lingers on. So you'll find most of the best poetry anywhere by the best of poets is not about happiness, it is about sorrow. Galib expresses that. Now there is a tendency, Elizabeth, you must know this as well, that everything that happens that is written by a poet, you try to connect it to the personal life of the poet. This is a mistake. The poet, most of the times, expresses what he feels or she feels within. Sorrow that is expressed is metaphorical. Metaphorical. Why? Because when sorrow is experienced, if you have experienced sorrow and if you are not afraid of experiencing sorrow, you will realize that sorrow is something which is a tremendous experience to have. Happiness is fleeting, sorrow lingers. It's like the smell of an agarbatti. It's there, it carries on and on and on. So every poet of any worth, if you will look at any poetry of any worth, sorrow is integral to poetry. Galib was expressing the same thought. Does not mean, ladies and gentlemen, that he was a sorrowful person all the time. I have described to you what that person was. He was a person who experienced sorrow but transcended that sorrow. That was because of his resilience. So it is a mistake, according to me, to think that just because you wrote of sorrow, all the time he was pervaded with sorrow. No. We psychiatrists deal with problems. It doesn't mean we have problems ourselves. It's not so, we deal with them. That is how Galib also dealt with a lot of sorrow, but he expressed it. The most important thing is he expressed it. Yes, please. Next one.
Any other questions?
If you have any further questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we'll close this session. But nice, you brought up this point. Any other questions? There's somebody from behind. Yeah. All right. Is that it? You would like to say something, madam? Savita ji, aap. Yeah.
I've already asked. I don't want to ask one more, but I have.
No, please ask one more. No problem. Since you are asking for them.
Yeah. So there's that first share of Galib on Naksh Faryadi hai, iski shokiyat hai. That has been interpreted in multiple.
Yes, of course.
In multiple ways. Could you just provide some explanation that you have around the first and the second lines of one of the most important verses of that?
I thought you came late, probably. You missed it.
But there are multiple interpretations.
There are. See, look here. Always understand this. In poetry, if the poetry is of a certain caliber, the poet is not dogmatic. He does not leave only one interpretation. So the part of the greatness of a poet is he leaves a number of open-ended parts which you have to interpret. Galib is a master in that. He does not leave just one interpretation. Therefore, he is interpreted and reinterpreted and reinterpreted. Every time that you read him, new aspects and new realms of meaning unfold before you. All great writing is like that. All great creativity. If you have seen a painting, the first time that you see a painting, only certain expressions come to you. The more and more you observe it, certain other nuances and subtleties unfold themselves before you. Just as it is with painting, similar it is with poetry. But if there's a painting of just a horse, but if you will see one of the master painters expressing himself or herself through a painting, even a horse, when you see that horse, you will get a number of different expressions every time that you see that horse. Just as it is with painting, similar it is with poetry. All great poets are like that. All. You read Galib, you will find these multiple interpretations, not only by others, your own interpretation will be a unique one. You, if you are able to really understand and grasp, you will give a new interpretation to Galib. The whole purpose of what I am doing is exactly that. It's very easy to typecast Galib and put him into that century where you are all the time talking about whatever. But Galib was expressing something which has eternal relevance and which has relevance for the lives of all of us even today. That is the whole purpose of what I'm trying to do. So this is one of the interpretations of Galib that becomes valid. But I'm happy he's asking these questions. Maybe afterwards, for some of these people, probably it is not. But if you will look into the interpretation that I've given of Naksh Faryadi, kiski shofiyat hai, कागजी है पैर हम हर पैर करें तस्वीर का क्या Are we through?
Good afternoon, sir. So my question
Yes.
is, how is Mirza Ghalib's writing different from those of modern poets like Ahmed Faiz, Ahmed Faraz, and John Elias, who also done painted with him?
क्या बात है, बहुत अच्छा. क्या आपका नाम बताएं?
Sir, my name is Dr. Rima Khan. I am a second year.
Very nice. How is it different? As I look at Galib, Galib has this unique ability to go not only into the aspects of love and the nuances of love, but along with that, he has this unique ability to look into the human predicament and all the difficulties that the human being experiences. Now, you will find in Urdu poetry and even other poetry, there are some people who are masters in romantic poetry. There are some others who are masters in social consciousness poetry. There are very few who are masters of both. Galib is a master of both. What I have described to you are all the nuances of social consciousness. But this same Galib says, Jahan tera nakshe qadam dekhte hain, khiyaba khiyaba iram dekhte hain. He is describing his beloved. All this social consciousness, human psychology is one. But wo aap dekhen, he says, Jahan tera nakshe qadam dekhte hain, where I see your footprints, he is describing his beloved. Khiyaba, khiyaba, flower bed upon flower bed of the garden of Iram is what I see. So the garden of Iram was the garden which was akin to the garden of paradise which somebody made. What he is describing is the beauty of his beloved. उसका जो कदम भी मैं देखता हूँ, वो एक flower bed की तरह मुझे दिखाई देता है, और ordinary flower bed नहीं, the flower bed of paradise. The description, just the footsteps of your beloved, आप कितना प्यार कर सकते हो? So all this human predicament is at one side, but along with that, here is the description of the beloved. And this description of the beloved, please note, is not just the beloved, the temporal beloved, the true beloved. When we talk of the true beloved, the transcendental beloved, you think of God. Wherever I see these flower beds, now see the other interpretation. Wherever I see his footprints, by he I don't mean God as any gender. Any expression in this world that I see, which is special, it appears to be the way in which the true beloved, that is God, is expressing himself. जहां तेरा मतलब उस भगवान का है, खुदा का नक्शे कदम देखते हैं, wherever I see all the entities that it makes, I see flower bed upon flower bed of paradise. So see love, which is temporal, and equally the love that is transcendental. Social consciousness on the one hand, human psyche and the human predicament on the one hand, and this huge, beautiful manner in which he can describe romance. I challenge anybody to be able to tell me one poet who can do both. That was Galib. इसलिए अंदाज बयां और जो इंसान अपने बारे में उसने कहा वो सच है. He was only describing a reality. और भी दुनिया में सुखनवर बहुत अच्छे कहते हैं कि गालिब का है अंदाज बयां और तब भी था अब भी है. That is the beauty of Galib. The more and more you read him, the more and more that beauty will unfold itself to you. But I am extremely delighted. This is a lovely question she was asked, and very nice question asked from that side as well. If any more is there, that's the last we'll take, and I think we'll wind up. Okay? Any more? But I'm so happy that these questions are being raised by members of our audience. Yeah? Yes, madam.
It was wonderful listening to Dr. Ajay R. Singh, and more so because we are talking about Galib. तो गालिब का जो है मुझे आई एम वेरी इम्प्रेस्ड एंड वेरी वेरी इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय हिज पोएट्री एंड हिज फिलॉसफी एंड हिज थॉट. और उसमें एक शेर है जो कि मुझे बहुत पसंद है और जो कि मैं अक्सर अपने दिल में सोचा करती हूँ कि रौब में है रख्श उम्र कब देखिए रुके, न हाथ बाग पर है न पार काब पर. रौ में है कि इट्स इन मूवमेंट, इट्स रनिंग, इट्स इन रख्श उम्र. उम्र का रख्श घोड़ा, उम्र का घोड़ा भाग रहा है तेजी से. दैट इज द फर्स्ट लाइन. रौ में है रख्श उम्र कब देखिए रुके, कि ये उम्र का घोड़ा जो तेजी से भाग रहा है देखो कि कब रुकता है. जहाँ न हाथ बाग पर है, जो घोड़े की लगाम होती है, मेरा हाथ उस उम्र के घोड़े की न लगाम मेरे हाथ में है, न पैर काब में, मेरा पैर भी रकाब में नहीं है. सो आई हैव नो कंट्रोल on the circumstances of my life, and life is running past me in such a speed that I am not able to control it, and nor am I able to judge or make it when it will stop and how the end will come. तो ये जो एक है थोड़ा सा ये कि एक शेर जो उनका दूसरा है कि ये मसाइल तसव्वुफ ये तेरा बयान गालिब, तो ये हम वली समझते जो ना बादा ख्वार होता. तो गालिब की जो पोएट्री है इट्स नॉट, इट्स ह्यूमन प्रेडिकामेंट, पैशन, लव, फीलिंग, एवरीथिंग अबाउट इट, and philosophy, basically philosophy and conflict that is reflected in his poetry. तो इस शेर में ये कहते हैं ये मसाइल तसव्वुफ, ये philosophical मसाइल issues, plural of मसला मसाइल, ये मसाइल तसव्वुफ, ये फिलोसॉफिकल इश्यूज जो ये तेरा बयान गालिब. गालिब तुम ये फिलोसॉफिकल इश्यूज जिस तरीके से एक्सप्रेस करते हो, तुझे हम वली समझते जो ना बादाख्वार होता, तुझे हम वली एक सेंट समझते अगर तुम शराब ना पीते होते. तो उसकी एक जो फेलिंग या कि उसकी जो कही गई है वो है कि वो शराबी था, तो इसलिए जो वो कह गया उसको किसी ने इतना सीरियसली नहीं लिया. लेकिन जिस तरीके से गालिब के जो शेर है, जो जिसमें जिंदगी का फलसफा जिस तरीके से उसमें उभर के आता है, सामने नजर आता है, और एक एक शेर की जो जिसकी डेप्थ है और मल्टीपल इंटरप्रिटेशंस हैं, जो जैसा आपने कहा कि मल्टीपल इंटरप्रिटेशंस हैं, और एक बार में गालिब नहीं समझ में आएगा, आपको 10 बार पढ़ोगे तो 10 बार उसकी गहराई समझ में आएगी. तो कई बार मैं ये सोचती हूँ अपने दिल में थोड़ा सा, this should not be treated as blasphemy, कि गीता का वही लेवल है, दर्जा है. गीता का जो दर्जा है कि एक बार पढ़ने से समझ में नहीं आती, एक एक श्लोक का गहरा से गहरा मतलब है, आपको 10 बार पढ़नी पड़ती है. और फिलॉसफी उसकी जो गीता की है, इट इज टाइमलेस, एजलेस. जब लिखी थी तब एप्लीकेबल थी, आज एप्लीकेबल है, फ्यूचर में भी रहेगी. ऐसे ही गालिब, he actually qualifies and fulfills the same criteria and on the parameter, same parameter कि जो गीता में है कि जो दर्जा है, वो शायद गालिब के शेरों का भी उसी तरीके से है. तो मैं थोड़ा सा बिल्कुल ये बात बड़ी संभाल के कह रही हूँ. It should not be treated as blasphemy, but I actually keep him at that level. And thank you, Dr. James.
Add a little to what she said. ये जो शेर जो उन्होंने कोट किया, उसके पहले का शेर है ना, that is very important. इसे क्या कहते हैं, देख you can see him. Yagana hai, yakta, he is unique and he is one unitary. जो unique की रूप होती, if he was not one, if there was duality, तो सद्वैत वेदांत. तो दो ही की रूप तो कहीं दो चार होता, दो चार होना मतलब दो चार नहीं, दो चार होना मतलब मिलना. Now what he is describing is the unitariness of God. After that comes the share that madam ये मसाइले तसव्वुफ ये तेरा बयान गालिब. कौन देख सकता कि गान है वो यक्ता जो एक की बूढ़ मूर्ति. After that he says ये मसाइले तसव्वुफ ये तेरा बयान गालिब. प्रॉब्लम मसाइल ये मसाइले तसव्वुफ स्पिरिचुअलिटी और ये तेरा बयान गालिब the way you have described him, described it, तुझे हम वही समझते
क्या कहते हैं चंडी मंदिर के आगे कौन सा पार्क है कौन
think you are a saint
नेट कब लाएंगे भैया
होता
हम भी नहीं आए आप भी नहीं आए और ये
you are a wine
बोल नहीं है
drinker
भैया
no, he's talking about himself ladies and gentlemen please
आधा
note this
किलो की पैसे ले लूंगा
he's
मैं
talking of himself how many people really can say that about themselves
तीन के देना
I would have thought you were a great saint he's talking about himself but you are a wine drinker in other words what he is trying to say is this is the point that you must note
दुकान में कहीं भी
people who drink
अब मैं नहीं बोलती था
and when they are intoxicated they solve huge philosophical and spiritual problems like this
वो जो है आपका वो चिंतपूर्णी वाला माली
he's telling himself he's bringing himself down to earth and saying all this big talk that you did उसे कौन देख सकता है
मामा जी को पूछ रही है
जगाना है वो यक्ता
फूल वाले से नहीं मैं
big talk of a person who is actually a user who is not a saint
तो ये होगा ना कोई 1 किलो का डिब्बा
अपने को क्रिटिसाइज करना कितने लोग कर पाते हैं he is cutting himself to size you don't think of yourself as a great saint all that you spoke actually you spoke because you are intoxicated in that intoxicated phase you have said what you have and you will find that if there is महफिल जो होती है जिसमें लोग शराब पीते हैं वो देखिए 2-3 पैग अंदर गए तो देखिए कितनी बड़ी बड़ी बातें करते हैं सारी बातें बड़ी बड़ी होती हैं उसी इंसान को बाद में आप देखेंगे तो बात भी नहीं कर पाता he solves all spiritual problems like this so that is what he is telling himself and not only is telling himself he is telling all the others to do the same thing ये एक बात आपको ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए everybody tries to interpret Galib as though everything was happening to him no he is making general statements and in those general statements he makes an example of himself from the particular to the general if you are able to do that then only you will understand great poets if you are all the time thinking of his personal life you will not be able to understand the bigger issues that Galib was trying to raise whether it is Galib or it is Shakespeare or it is anybody else you have to look into those metaphorical meanings that are expressed in these shares but I'm so delighted that she's a great fan of Galib as you can see इस तरह से फटाफट उन्होंने कोट किया मैडम क्या बात है बहुत अच्छी
देखना तकरीर की लज्जत की जो
हाँ देखना तकरीर की लज्जत की जो उसने कहा मैंने ये जाना कि गोया ये भी मेरे दिल में है देखना तकरीर this is again talking of the beloved but it's not again related to the beloved I quoted this about guess who Dr. Vic देखना तकरीर की लज्जत की जो उसने कहा तकरीर the way in which a person speaks मैंने ये जाना कि गोया ये भी मेरे दिल में है whatever I feel अरे यही बात जो मुझे लगता था यही बात याद कर रहा है number of such feelings that you have the greats have that ability to express it and it resonates with your thought बलाए जा है उसकी हर बात इबारत क्या इशारत क्या अदा क्या बलाए जा है again that's the thought that came to me when we lost Dr. Vic बलाए जा है उसकी हर बात everything about that person बलाए जा है मेरी जान की बला है it is mind boggling it is awe inspiring उसकी हर बात इबारत क्या whatever he wrote इशारत क्या the gestures that he made अदा the airs that he had अब आपने अगर डॉक्टर विक को कभी देखा है बात करते टाइम you get that feeling बलाए जा है उसकी हर बात he is describing Galib is describing his beloved but you don't think that all descriptions about the beloved actually are meant only for the beloved it is meant as a generalization for a number of special things that you see in this world metaphorically thinking is very important simile nahi metaphor when you look at metaphors then you realize that from the particular you are able to go to the general which is what philosophy does isn't it from the particular to the general poetry is philosophy in a poetic form. If it is great poetry, it is exactly that, nothing else. Look into the universal that is presented in the particular. Then you have really understood great poetry. If you are all the time looking only at the particular, you will miss the universal. Great poetry always takes an example, and from there it expresses universal things, as does great philosophy. So great poetry is actually equal to great philosophy. ये यहाँ का पी और वहाँ का पी दोनों एक दूसरे को बिल्कुल मैच करें. You got the point? Thank you so much. From my side, whatever I have to say, I come to an end. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for making it convenient in spite of it being a holiday. And that too declared suddenly. You made yourself present today. I will remember this day for a long time because I think I celebrated my birthday in the best way possible. With my colleagues and remembering such a great poet. इससे ज़्यादा बड़ा जलसा क्या हो सकता है? ये मेरे लिए तो unforgettable moment होगा. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for making it convenient.
The opportunity. I would now like to request Dr. Sudhir, the medical superintendent of DMCH, to present the speaker with a memento. So please. I would now request Dr. Preeti Arun to say a few words and present a vote of thanks.
So first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Ajay Singh for coming to Chandigarh and making all this possible, because what you shared was absolutely awesome. To be honest, I have read some of Galib, but I've never gone into depths. But yes, the way you have connected the human psychology and philosophy and Galib, that was very, very nice, sir. Thank you so much for this opportunity. You gave this opportunity to us by being here and by sharing all your wisdom on this topic. I also thank our Professor in Charge Academic, Medical Superintendent, Dr. Savita Malhotra, and the guest, Mr. Talwar, and many others who have joined us today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now request all to stand up for the national anthem. Thank you.